Deus Ex Human Revolution is an immersive sim that takes the classic franchise and attempts to modernize it for a newer audience. It succeeds in many ways but fails in a few key aspects. We'll also look at Mankind Divided and what it did and didn't do right as a direct sequel. This is going to be fun, so please sit back and relax. Also remember to leave the video a like and to subscribe to the channel. They both help me out a lot. Thank you. Sorry, moving the cable out the way. Deus Ex is old as shit, and it goes back quite a ways, but this video isn't about the first game or Invisible War. As of this video, I just started playing the classic games, so this will focus on what Human Revolution and Mankind Divided do right and wrong as modern games. These games are prequels, so it sets up things to come and has some familiar characters. Deus Ex Human Revolution was released in 2011 during the PS3 360 generation. Let's go. Time for the story. Full spoilers. The first cutscene shows Bob Page from the OG games is in a meeting with other members of the Illuminati, mentioning something about someone named David Seraph and a woman who made some sort of breakthrough to do with genetics. It cuts to show Adam Jensen and Megan Reed, who have a history together and also both work at Seraph Industries. The company is a biomechanical augmentation company which specializes in biomechanical augmentation. Adam Jensen is the main character who you will soon play as and is head of security. Megan Reed is a scientist that does nerdy shit. The company is getting ready to go on a business trip to Washington, so they are prepping in their respective departments. While speaking with the company's head of cybersecurity, Francis Pritchard, and the head honcho himself, David Seraph, the company is attacked by tyrants, heavily augmented mercenaries who do murder on Megan and her entire team, as well as beat the living shit out of Adam. On the brink of death, David Seraph greenlights the process of heavily augmenting Adam, saving his life but also not giving him a choice in the matter. Adam is grumpy about this, but his contract when he signed on to the company gives Seraph the legal right to have done this. We don't know this yet, so forget I said anything. 6 months later, Adam is directed by his boss to return to work and already has a special job for him. One of Seraph's manufacturing plants has been infiltrated by a group called Purity First, anti-augmentation members who are basically the vegans of this world. The plant is a housing, that's no pun, nope. I keep wanting to say no pun intended because I say the plant right after I say vegans of this world. The plant is housing the new Typhoon system that Adam witnessed at the start of the game, and he's being sent in to retrieve the prototype. There are also Seraph employees being held hostage, but David made it clear that the prototype is the main priority.
Keep your eyes open for hostages. Free them if you can, but the Typhoon is your #1 priority.
Fuck them hostages. After infiltrating, Jensen finds an augmented hacker that is in the process of accessing the Typhoon's blueprints. The hacker kills himself after begging for help.
Help me!
Adam finds the Purity First leader Zeke Sanders and asks him about the hacker, which he claims to know nothing about.
These lies on my name!
After the mission, David recommends that you go to a limb clinic to make sure that you're all good. These clinics are doctors for Augs, basically. And you find out that Adam doesn't need neuropozyne at all. This is an expensive drug that suppresses any rejection symptom people might have to their augmentations. Not needing neuropozyne is unheard of, and both Adam and the doctor are shocked by this discovery.
What? No! What?
After that, David Seraph mentions that the police are claiming that the hacker who killed himself wasn't augmented, signaling a cover-up. Jensen goes in to retrieve the neural implants himself in the police morgue and return it to Pritchard, who traces a remote access signal to an abandoned factory. Jensen goes there to find the tyrants again and comes face to face with one of them, named Barrett, and the first boss fight ensues. Barrett's dying words lead them to Hangsha in China. Here, Jensen talks to Tong Si-hung to find the hacker. When he finds the hacker himself, Van Bruggen, Adam finds out he's being hunted by his former employer, Taiyang Medical, and its CEO, Zhao Yunru. As a backup plan, Van Bruggen placed an incriminating file on Zhao at Taiyang's headquarters and for Jensen to go and get it. Upon watching the recording, it mentions that Megan's team was kidnapped and not killed, as well that Eliza Kassan is involved.
Reed and her team have subdermal GPL implants. They'll be tracked. Kidnapping them was a mistake. Forgive me if I don't put as much faith in our friend Eliza as you do. She's too erratic.
Yeah, that news anchor that you see all over the city has a hand in this. Adam goes to confront Zhao, but she plays the victim and escapes. Adam then goes to Picus HQ to find Eliza Kassan. Upon talking to a hologram, the source of the signal is coming from the sub-basement. And here it's revealed that Eliza is actually an AI. Biggest twist of the game so far. Not just that, but she's created to take news and manipulate it before broadcasting it to the public to shape their view. Yeah, this is some Metal Gear Solid 2 ass shit right here. Eliza has gained some self-awareness and wants to help Jensen. Their chat is interrupted by another one of the tyrants, Fedorova, who Jensen has to eliminate. Upon killing her, Eliza mentions that Megan and her team's trackers were removed by a man named Sandoval. Sandoval works for William Taggart, who is the leader of the Humanity Front, which basically means he's anti-augmentation. Jensen heads home and has a chat with Seraph. David mentions that there's a lot of players at play here. Turns out it's the Illuminati, and that they've been behind everything from the start. Jensen confronts Sandoval, but claims that he couldn't take out the tracker since it would kill the team. So instead, he changed the frequency to make them harder to track. We also find out that Zeke Sanders is Sandoval's brother, the leader of Purity First from the start of the game. Tracking one of the frequencies leads them back to China, where Adam's VTOL gets shot down. Your pilot can live or die based on how quick that you act here. At this time, Augs all over the world are being told to replace their biochips due to a defect. You can choose to upgrade or not. The tracker you traced back to China is in the arm of Tong. He bought the augmented arm off Bell Tower, a private military group. Look familiar? Tong doesn't give two shits about Bell Tower, so he helps Jensen jump aboard one of their ships and is sent off to Singapore. Adam is then face to face with Zhao again. After speaking to the scientist at the facility, Jensen learns that the Illuminati are creating a kill switch to control all Augs. Zhao activates Jensen's, and if you chose to get the upgrade earlier, Adam glitches the fuck out. Now you have to fight the leader of the tyrants, the man who killed Adam at the start of the game, Jaren Namir. After killing Namir, you speak to Megan. Remember at the start of the game when Seraph Industries was planning a trip to Washington and the Illuminati was talking about some woman's big breakthrough? Megan was her, and she was going to reveal a discovery about how to make living tissue bond with augmentations, meaning that fellow Augs wouldn't need neuropazine anymore. You find out here that she made this discovery through Adam's DNA, without him knowing. At the same time, Hugh Darrow, who is basically the father of augmentations and created them, is at an installation in the Arctic Ocean called Panchaea, giving a speech about how human enhancement can change the world. Literally. He activates all the new biochips, causing everyone with it to go insane and go on a killing frenzy. Daryl sees how destructive augmentations are making people, so he does this because he wants them permanently banned, which completely goes against the Illuminati's plans. If you made Jensen get the new chip, Megan would isolate you from this signal. In order to shut the signal down, Jensen heads to Panchaea using Daryl's shuttle. Upon landing, he confronts Hugh. Before you can shut the signal down, you must disable Panchaea's security system, which is a supercomputer called the Hyron Project. Zhao is attempting to connect to Hyron to alter Daryl's message before it's broadcasted. You also find out that it's completely powered by humans. You must defeat Zhao as the final boss and shut down the Hyron Project. Eliza then presents you with the end of the game, and you have 4 choices. You can either spread the truth about Hugh Darrow's confession, the Illuminati, and the biochip. This would convince the world to abandon research in human enhancement. Secondly, you can side with Seraph by altering Hugh Darrow's message and using it to blame the Humanity Front and William Taggart. This would allow human enhancement to continue worldwide. Thirdly, you can choose Taggart, which is to spread fake news that neuropazine was contaminated prior to reaching the market. This would also remove any mention in Daryl's speech about the Illuminati. This would place harsh restrictions on human enhancement research going forward. Or you can destroy Panchaea, which would kill everyone at the facility, including yourself. This would make it so that way no one could spin the story, and it would let the world decide for itself. After picking your ending, you get a little monologue from Jensen and watch some footage from our real world. Game done. I wasn't planning to recap the entire story, but it really is incredible and I had to do it justice. The stakes raised, every question is answered, and there's a solid ending no matter which one you choose. I can't sing enough praise for the game story, but let's talk about gameplay, which is also really great. The game is an immersive sim, meaning that there are multiple ways to complete each mission. From taking enemies head on to sneaking around them, hacking doors or finding codes, reading emails to find information, etc. I have to quickly run down the different augmentations before I can break down the systems. So first off is Social Enhancer under Cranium. This will help you win the speech battles. Next we have the Radar system, which is in the bottom left usually. This will just increase your radar. Info Link, this is just talking to people over your radio. Stealth Enhancer displays the range at which the noise you produce travels, displays enemies, cones of vision. You could ping people so you can track them. Hacking, this will allow you to hack higher grade terminals, deactivate cameras, deactivate turrets, deactivate robots, and up to level 4, level 5 terminals, depending on how much hacking you want to do. This will show each node's chance of detection, add 1 point to a node's rating, and this decreases your chances of detection by an increasing percent. Next, we have torso. Your health system generates health over time. Basically, this one's automatic. This is your battery for using your stealth and visibility, stuff like that. Gain your battery meter faster. It'll recharge quicker. This is for your lungs. This will help with gas grenades and sprinting. Basically, increases your stamina. Typhoon system, so that way you press a button, it'll basically obliterate anyone around you. Increase your inventory space on this side. Carry heavier objects over here. This one will let you punch through weakened walls. This reduces your recoil, so that way when you're shooting, your reticle doesn't bloom up as much. When you're moving around, it lets your crosshair be more accurate. For eyes, this one will let you see through walls. You have to activate this one. Know exactly when enemy combatants will drop out of their alarm state, like Metal Gear Solid, basically. Protects against the effects of concussion grenades. That's self-explanatory. Take down multiple opponents. Yeah, you can take down 2 opponents at once. Icarus landing system, you can fall at any height without being damaged. This one, first one, is about armor. Basically increases your defense. Prevents augmentation, deactivation, and energy loss from EMP grenades and electricity. If someone throws an EMP grenade at you, which happens a lot, it won't F up your system as bad. It won't F up your system at all, actually. Next one for skin is cloaking. You push a button and you become invisible for a short amount of time. As you upgrade this, it uses less and less energy. And the last one is legs. So you can activate this to run and walk silently so you can sneak past people. Jump enhancement, this one's really good. You could jump up to 9 feet in the air. There's a sprint one that makes you sprint faster. This one will let you sprint without making any noise at all. This one will let you jump and land without making any noise. And those are all the augmentations, basically. There are quite a few augmentations that are more vital than others and will be more useful. The speech one is best to get as early as possible, since there are quite a few speech battles during the main story, and I'll circle back to that soon. A lot of those augs that I mentioned will slowly bring down the bar, so the best course of action will be to use them in short bursts. If you use up a battery, it won't regenerate on its own. You'll need to use an energy bar or item equivalent to replenish that energy. You can upgrade your battery count or just make the augs themselves more efficient. The speech battles I mentioned are a type of boss battle. Some moments in the story you'll be confronted with someone who you'll need to convince to help you. The first big one is Sanders. The various outcomes can have him killed, subdued, or escape depending on what you say. There are also various outcomes for the hostage that he has with him. The thing here is that you can't always just cheat to get past these. There is some variation when it comes to what you should say and how they will respond. Using the speech augmentation will give you information about the type of personality the person is and how good of a job that you're doing. These speech battles can be really tricky, but most of the time they are worth the short-term stress. Later in the game, when you need to retrieve the hacker's implants, you'll need to convince the dude at the front desk to let you in. Him and Jensen have a rough history, so it'll be tough. If you succeed, you can walk in no problem, smooth sailing the whole way. But if you fail, you'll need to sneak in or use force. So either you win the speech battle, which is tough to do, or the mission becomes tougher for failing it. Aside from the augs, there's a heavy reliance on hacking. Hacking is a time-based minigame where you gotta get from the blue ball to the green ball. You capture each node, and the time each of them take depends on the number assigned to them. The lower the number, the quicker it'll capture. Once you are detected in the system, the countdown will begin, and that's how long you have to finish the hack. You can get bonuses by capturing optional nodes, which can result in extra money or hacking software. There are 2 types of software, being Nuke and Stop. Nuke will instantly capture nodes for you, while Stop will pause the timer. And Stop will pause the capture timer for a few seconds. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my damn mind. But there's one that will totally hack the thing for you, but is rare to find and expensive to buy. Using the software is totally optional, and most terminals can be hacked without using them. As you play the game as Adam, you will have a choice whether you want to kill or not. Lethal is usually the easier way to go for a couple different reasons. First off, doing a pacifist run, there are only a handful of ways to knock enemies out. The stun gun, tranquilizer gun, gas grenade, and a harder than average smack on the head. Plus, on top of this, leaving bodies laying around have them more prone to being spotted and then woken back up. Back on the 360, I did a full pacifist run and didn't get the achievement. Yes, I'm still upset about it. I'm still not sure what happened. There was a glitch that doing non-lethal takedowns would still kill enemies, and you wouldn't know this unless you hover your crosshair over them and check. The best bet in a no-kill run would be to avoid enemies altogether. Sneaking past enemies are possible in just about every situation. You can use augs to do this much easier. Using cloaking and silent movement are your best bet. There are also some not so great stuff that I have to mention. First off, the boss fights. It's always been argued that boss fights don't belong in immersive sims, and this game doesn't make a case for the otherwise. The boss fights were outsourced to a company called Grip. The director's cut version of the game made an attempt to make the fights more cohesive with the rest of the game, by adding side areas for you to get the drop on whoever you're fighting. For example, the first fight with Barrett was initially just a big room, maybe with some ammo near the pillars, but that was it. This is the version that I played back on 360. Now, in the director's cut, they added more space in the main area as well as some side rooms with ammo and weapons. I gotta say that I don't mind the boss fights in general as long as they're fair and fun to play. I didn't mind these ones though, even though I did initially get stuck on the Barrett fight back in the day. I'm not sure what people didn't like. I assume it's because they're bullet sponges that you just need to pump lead into before they fall. And yes, I said fall because you must kill every boss, regardless if you're doing a pacifist run. You're gonna have to play the games and make your own judgment on that one. Another negative I have is a two-parter. One is the poor design to hide loading screens. This is a sign of the times and was necessary during the generation when it launched. You'll come across long hallways and vents that are definitely used to hide loading in from a hard disk drive. The thing with these now are that they're baked into the game, even though most hard drives are much quicker, and better yet, SSDs have become the standard. It's not the game's fault, like I said, but it's a sign of the times that will now always be here. The second part of this is the lack of a fast travel. Detroit is a pretty large city to get around, and getting from one end to the other takes you quite a while. You can't just pop into a menu to teleport to the other side, but you can pop into the menu and buy some speed upgrades. And it isn't ideal, so you're going to have to get used to seeing the same NPCs, the same streets, and hearing the same dialogue every time you pass through. I also have to mention the performance issues on PC. As far as I know, I think it's mainly because of the director's cut version of the game wasn't ported correctly, so there are some stutters after loading into a new area. I also saw online that if you're running a NVIDIA GPU, that won't help things either. Expect frame hitches and graphical glitches from time to time. Okay, before we move on, I have to gush a bit. The game is great. I found it super chill to wander the black and gold streets of Detroit and Hengshaw. It feels really warm and inviting, and I'm pretty sure the color plays a big role in that. The art direction is very unique and fits the world incredibly well. Also, the voice performances are amazing. Everyone does a great job. Elias Toufexis nails every aspect of Jensen, from the curiosity and aggressive aspects that he has at different points in the story. His banter with Pritchard is so well done. The constant busting of balls doesn't get annoying since under it all, there's a mutual respect.
Pritchard, the hub's connected.
I know. Now be quiet and let me concentrate.
I need his name, Pritchard, not his entire genetic history.
I also have to mention the acting for David Seraph. Such a subtle performance. And I say subtle because it's easy to play the over-the-top, cocky, rich billionaire.
I'm also starting to see why your superiors in the police force decided to blame you for the Mexican town riots. Christ, Adam. I thought you were ready for this.
But Shellen plays it more like a worried father figure to Adam. And a fun fact, Megan Reed, who is Jensen's ex-girlfriend in-game, is played by Elias's actual wife. Kinda neat. She also does an amazing job.
That was different. Then it was all just theories. But this discovery, Adam, it's big. Kepler big. Rosetta Stone big.
So, what's the problem?
They'll want to know how I found it.
That's it for Human Revolution. A great game that I've played through in total like 3 or 4 times. Buy it for sure. You can usually get it in a Deus Ex bundle, which includes the first and second games, plus Mankind Divided, which we'll get into right now.
I won't let it happen again.
Mankind Divided was released in 2016 during the PS4 Xbox One generation. The game takes place 2 years after the end of Human Revolution and keeps Adam as the main character. Before we jump into the story, I'm gonna remind you again to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. They're both free to do and help me out a ton. Thank you. Story time. Gather around, children. The game starts with Adam Jensen on a new team called Task Force 29. Him and his new squad are on their way to Dubai to shut down a deal at an old resort. The resort never completed its construction since it happened during the Aug incident from the end of the last game. I should quickly talk about the endings from Human Revolution. There were 4 options, and Mankind Divided used multiple aspects from each ending to create the landscape for its story. We know for sure that Panchaea was destroyed even though Adam and Seraph survive it. The aftermath from the Aug incident caused by Hugh Darrow is still a touchy subject that we'll come back to very soon. Anyways, Adam's new boss is Jim Miller, and it's clear that people are still a bit iffy to say the least. when it comes to augmented people. This is shown from McCready, a member of TF-29 who will be working alongside Jensen.
Not gonna go all wonky on us now, Hansa, are ya?
Well, if I do, McCready, I guarantee you'll never see it coming.
She's so fucking cool. Adam has changed quite a bit himself. He has grown to accept and embrace his augmentations. TF-29 has no other augmented soldiers either, Jensen being the only one. The team is meant to intercept an illegal arms deal between their target named Shepard and their undercover informant named Singh. The deal is interrupted by gold mask wielding soldiers who kill Shepard. Jensen halts Shepard's copter from being hijacked, and then a sandstorm destroys the place, sending Adam into the ocean. The game officially starts now, with Jensen going to Prague, which will be the main setting throughout. We see that things have changed quite a lot, mainly that augmented people are being treated like terrorists, which in turn is causing augmented people to act like terrorists. There is law enforcement literally everywhere, and people are segregated depending on if they have augmentations or not. It's seemingly been this way since the AUG incident 2 years ago. Adam meets a contact named Alex Vega, who you might recognize from The Fall. I say might because she looks totally different. She is part of the Juggernaut Collective, who are aimed at exposing corruption, which also means the Illuminati. Her and Jensen speak about how they believe that Miller is working for the Illuminati, and for Jensen to plant a whisper chip to spy on TF-29 to make sure. Suddenly, the train station they're in is bombed. Adam tries to help a little child's mother who is why do I say a little child? If it's a child, it's presumed that the child is little. Adam tries to help a child's mother who is trapped under the rubble, but he's too late. The explosion causes Jensen's AUGs to act up, glitching his system. He needs to visit Kohler, his local Ripper doc, to fix it. Kohler tells Adam that since this is a new game, he needs new augmentation abilities for the player to upgrade, more or less. In the meantime, he gets a call from David Seraph to check in on him since he heard about the bombing. You find out that Megan joined VersaLife and that Pritchard is running freelance in Detroit. Seraph went bankrupt and his company was acquired and absorbed into Tai Young Medical, which he's no longer a part of. After all of this, Jensen secretly installs the whisper chip at TF-29, but Miller doesn't clear him for field duty yet. Adam speaks with the task force nude psychologist, Delara Ozen, and she clears him for the field. Miller then instructs Adam to gather some evidence at the bomb station. After looking at the evidence, it shows that ARC is involved. ARC is the Augmented Rights Coalition, so Jensen goes to pay them a visit. He meets one of the members, Viktor Marchenko, before meeting with the leader, Talos Rucker. They have a friendly chat, and then suddenly Rucker is killed. He dies very quietly and peacefully. Back in Prague, Miller is called away. This sees Jensen taking advantage of his boss's absence to access his neural subnet. It's basically like PlayStation Home. Adam finds out that Miller's boss, Joseph Manderley, is telling Miller to put the blame on ARC for both the Dubai attack, train station bombing, and an incident that hasn't even happened yet. We see that even Manderley has a superior, who mentions that next up they need to deal with Nathaniel Brown. Jensen meets with the Juggernaut Collective's leader, Janus, who is very mysterious and spooky-like. Speaking with Janus, Jensen learns that Manderley's superior was none other than Bob Page, CEO of VersaLife and Page Industries, also the one who made the call to kill Rucker with a poison named Orchid. Janus tells Jensen that he should infiltrate VersaLife Palisade Bank to find out more information. A man named Nomad Stanek contacts Jensen that his daughter Allison is a member of a mass suicide due to a cult called Church of the Machine God. Allison was also traced to be the one who created the bomb that blew up the train station. Allison seems to be a lovely woman. Vega tells Jensen that the bank vault is about to be moved, so you have a choice on which one to do. Choosing Allison means you save her life, and she tells you about an Illuminati facility called GARM. Choosing the bank means you and Janus uncover a few things. You learn that Megan created Orchid and that a shipment of it was sent to GARM, a facility ran by Illuminati. At GARM, Jensen is ambushed by Marchenko and then drugged with Orchid. He hears them talk about using the Diwali crime organization to smuggle a shipment to London. Adam survives Orchid because it targets a gene in the DNA to rapidly advance augmentation rejection. But we know Jensen is immune and a pretty cool dude, so he gets up and escapes GARM. Yep, that's it. Shit's going down in Prague now, so it's under curfew. So you have to be careful moving through the streets at night. You speak with Vega. She mentions about Bob Page wanting the Human Restoration Act to pass, so it screws up Nathaniel Brown's plans for Robia. Okay, some quick explaining. The Human Restoration Act would put AUGs even under more pressure. They would need to have a control chip installed or be living in designated camps specifically for AUGs.
piece of shit UN legislation will pass and we'll all be thrown into AUG-only hellholes like Udalek.
And Rabia is a project to be a 3D printed city built by AUGs for AUGs, a safe haven for augmented people to live away from everyone else. I didn't notice this during my first playthrough, but Brown's company, the Santo Group, tried something like Rabia before. You go to Gollum City in the Udalek complex. Now it's known as the AUG Ghetto. You can actually see advertisements and pamphlets for Rabia in the open world as you play the game. If the act passes, then a flood of AUGs would sign up for Rabia and it would be unsustainable for Brown, I think. Anyways, after all this, you head to London. We're in the home stretch. Brown is here giving a speech to delegates to convince them to vote against the Restoration Act. Marchenko and the Gold Mask are here to kill the delegates by using Orchid. But Marchenko also rigged a building to explode, I guess? So as Jensen, you need to save the delegates or stop the building from exploding, or both, and confront Marchenko. If you save the delegates, the act doesn't get passed. If they die, then the act passes. Jensen makes it clear to Vega that he wants to meet Janus face to face. The game ends on another Illuminati meeting, which uncovers that TF-29 psychologist Delara Ozen was using the avatar of Elizabeth Duclair the entire time. The Illuminati's next goal is to uncover Janus, and they are hoping to use Adam to do so. Game done. This definitely is one of the stories of all time. All jokes aside, it's not nearly as good as the first game. I have a couple of gripes. At the end of HR, it's revealed that Megan is working on a virus, which we know ended up being Orchid in this game. My assumption was that this virus was supposed to be the Grey Death from the first Deus Ex. I think I'm correct, since it's well known that Human Revolution wasn't ever planned to have a sequel, until it was a success. They needed to pad things out to make room for this game. I also have to mention the bombing at the start of the game. We see that AUGs are under an intensely watchful eye and being treated as less than human. No doubt an obvious mirror to racism that still lingers in our society today. But this in-game is turned up to 11. There are lines that divide the naturals from the AUGs. You'll be called a clank quite a few times and have people mention your augmentations soon as they begin to speak with you. It's all just a little too on the nose and not portrayed in a realistic manner, if you ask me. Obviously, in our world, terminal security vastly increased after 2001, but the AUG incident in this game made the outcome here much worse in comparison for whatever reason. The bombing just feels like the second excuse for things to be the way that they are. This also has gameplay complications. You can now fast travel in the game, but it is reliant on you visiting these subway stations underground. Then more often than not, you'll be pulled over for your papers by the police. It'll begin an unskippable cutscene that does nothing but waste your time. It happens so much, and I get that it's supposed to be annoying, but why not have it happen twice and then have Miller say, oh, I spoke with the police to get you exempt or something. Then now whenever you use the train, you watch as everyone else gets stopped by the police as you go about your missions. I feel like this could give you the same feeling of oppression that the game wants you to feel so badly. Going to end this section with a positive. I really dug the curfew segment. At this point in the game, you've probably walked these streets half a dozen times while either exploring or completing side quests. Now it's a hostile environment, but you should have the upper hand since it's all familiar territory. It reminded me specifically of the panic room level from HR. You walk through a large area all by yourself, and then the alarms start blaring and you have to make your way back from where you came from. Both are dope, well executed sections of their respective games. I want to mention the biggest changes between HR and MD before we move on to the augmentations. It can't be denied the absolute leap in graphics from the first game. Dude, remember the saw that I just looked at in Deus Ex The Fall? Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Look at this. So much better, dude. They were launched a generation apart and it definitely looks like it. This goes hand in hand, but the visual language has been altered quite drastically. The black and gold is gone and replaced with a cooler color palette. The art style changed too quite a bit. Most of the cast are new except for Adam and David, but they also got quite a facelift with more defined features. Eidos taking all that triangular imagery to heart. I also want to circle back to the very few returning characters, Adam and David being the main ones. Bob is here and Pritchard is prominent in the DLC. Manderley from Deus Ex 1 makes an appearance as Miller's boss. But Vega, Miller, McCready, Delara, Marchenko, Chicane, Brown, and the rest of the main cast are all new. I also have to mention that this isn't unheard of. It's actually weird to have a sequel that picks up with the same character. Deus Ex 1 and Invisible War are both with separate protagonists. Having Adam star in 2 games is new for the series. No more boss battles. The speech battles are back, which was a pretty well-regarded aspect of HR, and even the speech AUG works very similar. But the traditional boss fights are gone. There really is only one, and that's Marchenko's at the end. You don't have to kill them, which is a great change. I do think boss fights can work though, they just need to be better implemented. Like a puzzle boss could be cool, or a survival boss. You know, getting stripped of all your gear and having to scavenge the area for loot. I'm giving out gold for free here. Next, Prague is the only city. You do jump around to smaller locations like Garm, London, Gollum City, etc. But Prague is where you'll keep coming back. This is a pretty good change just so you can really get to know the city and all its hidden routes. To make you more god damn it, bro. Why do I make sentences so long? This is one sentence. The more you familiarize yourself with it. Oh my god, dude. I'll speak more on Prague in the gameplay section. Finally, this gets its own part, but David Seraph was recast. The previous voice for Seraph has not returned for a couple reasons, and this new actor does his best to do an impression of Shellen. If you play these games years apart, you might not have noticed, but this is still worth mentioning.
It's nothing, really. I just need a signature so I can finish filing the bankruptcy paperwork.
This reminds me of Halo 2 to Halo 3. They changed the actor for truth between the games. They both do different performances, but still fit the character extremely well. Okay, let's quickly talk about the new augmentations. There are only a couple new ones, so let's run through them. Micro assembler. Okay, yeah, so it breaks down shit that you don't want into crafting parts. This is Peps. It like blasts people away. There was a gun in Human Revolution that could do this, but now it's built into your arm. That's pretty cool. Remote hacking, a little mini game. You can hack shit at a distance, basically. Tesla stun. I used this once just now by accident. Oh shit. Nano blade. This should have been an ability in the first game. You can like shoot the blade out of your arm. That's pretty cool. Focus enhancement. This is like a slow-mo. That's it. Icarus dash. Self-explanatory. It's a dash. Titan skin. This makes you like invulnerable for a short amount of time. And those are all the experimental ones. The rest are basically the same from HR. The only way these come about is after the bombing. Jensen goes to Kohler for a checkup. Kohler finds dormant Augs that were disabled, and then when enabled, Adam gets all hot and bothered. I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. The thing about these experimental Augs was that they would need to be shut down to allow you to use the other ones. I have the taser one enabled and the heat up to 150%. I have noticed no reason to disable them. The thing with disabling the Augs is that it's permanent. These new Augs are pretty cool and basically give you more options to go lethal or non-lethal. Some of these seem overdue, specifically with being able to launch your blades out. I didn't mention it before, but it works the same as HR, where your toggleable Augs are mapped to F1 through 4. And here you can also put one on the middle mouse button. This leads into the gameplay section. I'm happy to report it's a huge upgrade on this front. The game feels much more responsive in all aspects. The shooting, cover system, movement, and so on. I saw online that some people think the movement feels a little floaty, but I disagree. I do think the jumping feels very stiff and mechanical like the last game, but that's probably on purpose. I want to speak more on Prague itself. I'm gonna get all the negatives out of the way first. I think it's visually boring. Aside from the clever ads and other eye-catching aspects of the city, it has very little character in terms of its presentation. Also, it's divided with a big-ass wall cutting off like 30% of the open world, and it can only be reached by the subway system. This is also most likely a sign of the times, since it released during the PS4 Xbox One gen. Just like in HR, it is now baked into the game, which kinda sucks. But when it comes to gameplay itself, Prague is really a near-perfect playground. The layout of the city is done incredibly well, and the layers blend into each other seamlessly. A swath of apartments, rooms, shops, sewer grates, rooftops, fire escapes, you name it. There's plenty to explore. You'll most likely find yourself in rooms that have expertly crafted environmental storytelling or some side quest tied to it. Prague never disappointed when it came to exploring. I don't really have much else to say on it, but it can't be understated how well designed Prague is. Nope. I jumped a whole paragraph. A bunch of other aspects are taken from HR and just received a facelift or tweaking. Hacking is more of the same, now with a nicer interface and some new variables for you to use. I mean, you don't use all the variables, but whatever. From overclocking to speed up your node capture for a short time. Or fog security, not revealing where the path is to complete the hack. Before we move on, I just want to say that this game is more of an immersive sim than HR by tenfold. So many more ways to beat missions or just play the game. You can buy EMP rounds or full auto your pistol. Also, you can now own and then sell neuropazine, among other things, to get some extra cash in your pocket. Okay, I wanted to touch on breach mode a little bit. It's a low poly type of game mode that is mainly optional, but is forced on you in the DLC and at one point during the main story. It's supposed to be like hacking or gaining access to servers or something, I don't know. It's even weird because there are like virtual cameras, vents, boxes, and other stuff that you normally find in the game, but repurposed for these puzzles. It's really weird, and apparently Square Enix had microtransactions tied to it back in the day. Let's not talk about the marketing this game received, because that needs to be studied how to kill hype and make people not want to purchase the game. I do want to touch on some things I like to see in the future of Deus Ex, even though Mankind Divided sequel was recently canned after 2 years of dev time. MD was a big step up in terms of gameplay of all aspects over HR. All I can see them improving on is taking some aspects from Prey and Baldur's Gate 3 to really be the cherry on top. That Sims and I should just say immersive sims. Those games really nail that aspect of freedom that immersive sims excel at. I really hope they stick with Jensen too. After having 2 games with him, he's a great character that I can't help but feel connected to, and hoping we get to finish his story sometime soon. By finish his story, I really like to see how they tie it in with the first Deus Ex. This could also be a good time to have a studio like Night Dive do one of their stellar remasters like they did with the Quake games. Up-res and tidying up the gameplay is really all that needs for that game to hold up. The MD sequel also wouldn't need to be much better looking than this. I think Mankind Divided looks amazing. Going hyper realistic I think would do Deus Ex a bit of a disservice. You kind of want that freedom to exaggerate things when it comes to AUGs and its representation of the future. Similar graphics with a finer tuned story are a minimum in my opinion. Thank you so much for watching. What did you think of Deus Ex Mankind Divided? No pun intended on I forgot I put this in here. No pun intended, but thoughts on this game are pretty divided. I think it's mainly due to the poor story being the main culprit of that, but it really distracts to what is an otherwise fantastic game. Did you like Human Revolution better? What about Deus Ex 1 or other immersive sims? Feel free to leave a comment. I'm on Twitter at SilverJS and Instagram at JSSilver. 3s for the E's. I also upload my full unedited script readings on Patreon if you're interested in that. Link below. I'll see you all in the next one. Stay safe. Stay safe. That's what I meant to say, not stay safe.
Oh, hey.